If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
This is a More Than Just Podcast production.
Welcome to Podcast Season 8, Episode 12. My name is Tim Mitra. I am in Toronto, Ontario, and I'm joined by Jonathan Kuline, who is in Florenceville, Bristol, New Brunswick, Canada, Earth.
The Milky Way.
Solar System, Milky Way, Universe.
Thank you very much. How are you? Good. I was thrown by that.
We're also joined by Jaime Lopez Jr. in Seattle, Washington.
How's it going?
Also on Earth.
So composed, always ready.
Yeah, for sure. So I was just starting to tell these guys a story before we started recording. I thought, well, it would be fun to share it with people. So I worked for a company that called MLSE last year, and I ended up on a mailing list, like a fan mailing list. And a couple of weeks ago, or last week or so, I got an email saying, "Hey, do you want to win tickets to see the Leafs play?" And I went, "Sure," right? And then, sure enough, I won tickets to see the game on, what was it?
Sunday or Monday.
Monday,
Thanksgiving,
right?
yeah.
Monday afternoon. And it was supposed to be Thanksgiving, or Canadian, Thanksgiving as we call it.
Yeah.
Americans call it Canadian Thanksgiving. Anyway, so I decided to give thanks and go to the game, and they moved the game from 4 p.m. to 2 p.m. because there was another game playing, and it was the Blue Jays and the Seattle Mariners, which we talked about last week, right? Anyway, So a friend of mine says, "Hey, do you want tickets to the game? I got tickets and I can't go," and I'm like, and just doesn't want to do the crowds and all that kind of stuff, right? So I said, "Sure, I'll take the tickets," and then turns out they're behind home plate, which is like primo seats, like a special entrance to Skydome, to Rogers Center, like marble stairways, lax security. They had their own private store, like merch store and buffet before you go into the thing. And there's like prime rib and sushi and you name it. Like, the only thing you had to pay for is the alcohol, but the food was all included because the ticket prices, those tickets down there are super expensive. Or like 5 rows back from the basic, just a piece of mesh that's blocking, foul balls from hitting you in the face kind of thing, right? In fact, the guy next to me caught a foul ball, so I haven't gone back to see if anybody saw me on TV. But anyway, because the guy next to me literally caught a foul ball. But anyway, so it was an amazing experience. And, so we were talking last week about, the controversy or the potential controversy between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Seattle Mariners playing against each other and how it affects us on the podcast and how Jonathan's or Jaime's going to have to wear a Ferengi head for a week on a Zoom call or whatever. I don't know. But they haven't settled on what that is. But so I'm sitting there watching the game and we're so close to the play, right, that if you look away for a second, you miss something. So I looked away for a second, like within 30 seconds of the game starting, and I look up and I didn't even see the thing, but all of a sudden, Seattle Mariners players are running around bases. And I looked over at David, who was with me, and I said, "Did that go out?" He goes, "Yep." And I'm like, "Oh, well, that was fun." Yeah. So after all this excitement of going to the game, you sit down in your seats and Toronto does it again. They snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yeah, you got a real double header. You got the Leafs losing, and then you got the Blue Jays losing. It's a real Toronto celebratory kind of
totally
day,
as expected. But the funny thing was like the experience was ruined within 30 seconds of sitting in my seat. Thanks, Blue Jays.
That's what they do.
But as we speak, so now the Mariners are doing to Jaime what today, right now as we speak, they're playing. They're doing to Jaime what the Blue Jays did to us for the first 2 games, right? So I haven't looked at the score in the last 5 minutes, but I think the Leafs were up, right? Or not the Leafs, the Blue Jays were up, right?
Yes, the Blue Jays are currently winning, but as we've seen in this series, anything's possible.
Anything's possible, yes.
Regarding the proposed bet, I got a contribution from my son who, when I told him that this was something we discussed, he said, "Oh, I've got the perfect thing if the Blue Jays lose for you to have to do." He said, Jaime should be able to pick out the Tom Cruise movie of his choice and you have to watch it.
Oh, yes.
Oh, man.
Go Mariners, go.
And I was like, oh, that's evil. I don't like that my son has these things in his back pocket. But he said, what's the equivalent thing that Jaime hates? And I've been thinking, we've done 250 plus episodes of this show. I'm thinking, what does Jaime hate? I'm like, I don't know that I've ever heard
disrupted, by the way. Disrupted.
Disrupted. Yeah. Okay. I haven't. I couldn't think. Jaime, what is the thing that just just irritates you as soon as you see it? Is there a performer? Is there a genre? A certain film? Like what makes you mad? I don't think I've ever heard you. I've heard you be passionate, but I don't think I've ever heard you be mad.
Ooh, this is for one, it's kind of funny to ask a person, "Hey, what's your weakness, Superman? What kills you exactly?"
Well, I wear mine on my sleeve. It's cheating,
But I'll think about this honestly because I'm not sure what the equivalent there would be. I'm gonna have to ponder. I might even ask my significant other and say, "Hey, if you had to do this thing, what would you think would be the worst thing for me to go through?" Because she'll know what I'm irritated about, and I'll circle back on that.
In the meantime, you can think about what piece of Tom Cruise's film catalog you'd like in case the Mariners, wipe up the Blue Jays in the next couple of days.
Yeah, this is a couple of fascinating things here, Tim. So one, for folks who are not familiar, the Mariners rose to prominence as the second seed in the American League, ostensibly because of the Etsy witch who enchanted us and put us on this crazy win streak. And put some real refuse
Etsy
to
as
lose.
An ETC Etsy? Or?
Yeah. Like somebody, some fan went on Etsy, said, "Hey, I need you to cast a hex or a spell or an enchantment."
Oh, you mean ETSY?
ETSY. Yes,
because in Unix, Etsy is the etc. folder.
Sorry, no, I misheard you. No, the place you go and you get cool art stuff that people sort of make, right? And it feels like that's possibly wearing off, given that we jumped out to a 2-0 and then got walloped at home after jumping out 2 runs.
Yep.
So the other thing I'm thinking about is I think we need a rally, Tim. So I highly recommend you go attend the games in Toronto on my behalf.
Wow, that is cold.
It's like
he thinks you're a Blue Jays bad luck charm now.
You're just like
me?
Man, the lightning rod.
The person who got the tickets for me said that the owner said, "I can't go to any more games."
See, there you go. It's a weird thing. I remember with just put a bit of a cap on this. I remember, my best friend growing up in elementary school, we'd go to the local AAA team. It was the El Paso Diablos at the time. They've now switched affiliations, etc. But when I would go with him, my friend, and his dad, we just saw, all winners. Just win every single time. But anytime we went with anybody else, it was you can't come to the games no more. Why? It's because we lose every time you go.
Yeah, it was funny. I grew up a Montreal Canadiens fan. Well, because when I first came to Canada, I lived in Montreal, and all the kids in school were into Montreal, right? And then I moved to Toronto, and high school and all that kind of stuff. So it was really hard to be a Habs fan, right? And then living with Jonathan and David all these years, and even my own daughter, everybody sort of became Leaf fans, it's infectious. You just become a Leaf fan. You hope I've driven to the lumber store to buy wood for the bandwagon every couple of years that the Leafs have gone into the playoffs, right? So I've become a Leaf fan over the years, and Blue Jays and as Raptors as well, but. So I get sucked in every year too, right? So the thing about it is, though, is I used to watch, like, every now and then I'd flip on a Leaf game and they would lose. Like, and I'm telling you, within a minute of me watching the game, they would get scored on, right? So I just stopped watching, right? Because I figured every time I watch the Leafs, I just get disappointed. I'm a goaltender, so I empathy with the goaltenders and all that kind of stuff. And one of my customers, one of my good friends, is George Stroumboulopoulos, who is, a dyed-in-the-wool Habs fan, right? And I was telling him this story, and I said, so when I said, I just don't watch hockey because every time I watch the Leafs, they lose. And he goes, well, it doesn't matter whether you watch or not, they still lose.
Yeah, it's harsh but fair.
Anyway.
Right, Tim? Because, you know what's lucky, Tim, in this spirit of Halloween, black cats, right? Full of luck and vigor.
Black cats? Okay, I'll remember. And walking under ladders, I guess, too, right? All right. Okay. Well, welcome to the Spotcast Sports Podcast. But with that said, we have a couple of fact check things. Nick Baquet voiced Salem the Cat in Melissa Joan Hart's version of Sabrina the Teenage Witch was started in 1996. So I don't. He was apparently a voice actor. Like, he's been on a lot of the cartoons and stuff like that I've haven't really watched, but he had a very distinctive voice, if I remember correctly, right? And the unsuccessful sci-fi spin-off I was struggling to remember last week was Dune Prophecy.
Yeah.
And right. That was Emily Watson was the actress. I was trying to remember.
Somehow successful enough to get a second season, in spite of the fact that I think all three of us were like, meh. Wow.
And we blanked on it, right? We were like, what was that called?
Yeah, and the movie format I was trying to talk about last week for streaming from your home content is MKV. That you would convert your files into, and that was for the Ugreen system. And I've since found doing some work, research work, friends of mine who are looking for RAID solutions and stuff like that. I'm also looking for a time machine solution, and apparently these network area storage devices Synology and Ugreen can be used for time machine, as well as streaming your movies and stuff like that. But I also watched a video the other day too, where if you just have a hard drive in a Mac Mini, you can do the same thing too. So just to follow up on that, more than just code content. On that note, we'll head over to the headlines for some Star Trek news. Yay!
Yeah, last weekend was New York Comic-Con, which is quickly becoming another one of those places that news kind of breaks from. Usually we get used to summertime, a little bit of updates from the San Diego Comic-Con, but this is like a number of years in a row now that we're starting to get more stuff sort of pushing out, which is good because obviously, it's a big distance from July till October. So they decided to drop us.
And nobody can get a ticket to San Diego.
Well, that too, absolutely. So. The news that came out from Star Trek was pretty fun. We got our first full trailer, not a teaser trailer, we got our first full trailer for Starfleet Academy, and we got a release date, which is awesome. So January 15th, we know it's coming. This was a bit more of a robust look, so we got to see a little bit more of some of the dynamics between the characters. We got to see some familiar faces. A little bit of pew pew, a little bit of hugs and explosions, as you see in an average Star Trek trailer. I thought this was a pretty good looking thing. I mean, we've talked about this before. I think Starfleet Academy is kind of the no-brainer of Star Trek properties that has never been done yet. Like, it just seems so logical to do it. It's, in comic books, we always talked about why doesn't somebody do What If Superman landed in Russia instead of America? And it took into the 2000s for somebody to do that book, and then Mark Miller did that book, and it was amazing, and everyone was like, oh, it's so amazing. And it's like, yeah, that concept has been there forever. Why didn't somebody do that? Starfleet Academy is such a no-brainer. Like, get a bunch of young people together, they're all, hot shots. They all want to be the best. Like, it seems like a real easy tap in for a Star Trek show. And the only wrinkle here is that this Starfleet Academy is set in the future that we left with Star Trek Discovery. So we're in the far-flung future. So this isn't going to be an origin story for Picard or an origin story for Kirk or something. This is actually happening in the future, which I'm very excited about. I thought it looked good. What did you guys think of this trailer? Jaime, what'd you think?
Yeah, I think it's a very different take. Like it's not going to be exactly like Discovery, even though it carries over some people. I'd say just like DS9 is very different from TNG, even though it does carry some people over, right? So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see something new. And like you said, timelines moving forward. And it's kind of cool to see somebody a little different, like a Paul Giamatti as a villain. So I thought that was going to be kind of an interesting. I assume he's the big bad for the overarching story of the season.
And he looked like he was having a good time in that trailer. Like he's like chewing and spitting and growling. I mean, Giamatti's a terrific actor, but yeah, he was kind of eating up the scenery there, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially with that line to what I presume to be like the point of view character or the main character. Like, hey, kid, like that anger you feel right now, just hold on to that. It'll keep you warm at night.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So this is taking place in the Discovery time, like the future with, because Tilly's in it, right? And
Jet Reno.
Jet Reno,
yeah. And I think the Admiral from Discovery's there as well. I think there's going to be a bunch of recurring characters and a bunch of cameos and stuff like that from that timeline. And it's sort of set in that same space. So yeah, this is the where do we decide they are? 29th century?
They're in the
30th century?
30th century, I think.
Yeah. What do you think, Tim? You were excited about this? You feeling more invested?
Yeah, it was a long trailer. There's a long trailer. There's lots of interesting sort of plot lines you could sort of pull out of the trailer that we saw. There's a young Klingon in there. There's a young guy, obviously, who we see at the very beginning. He loses his mother, and that's who Paul Giamatti is saying, keep you warm at night, kind of thing. And we presumably see him as an older person joining Starfleet and that kind of stuff. And I'm trying to remember the name of the actress who's the Chancellor.
Holly Hunter. Yeah.
Holly Hunter. Yeah. Another big name there in terms of Paul Giamatti. I saw an interview with him about joining it. It's pretty cool that he's pretty excited about it, but having her in there sort of gives some credibility to the whole thing. I mean, we didn't know who. I mean, most people didn't know who Patrick Stewart was at the time when he joined TNG, but he was a big name actor at the time, right? And Voyager,
have they not watched Excalibur?
Yeah, exactly. And Voyager was supposed to be, trying to remember the name of the actress. It was a French actress who was supposed to...
Geneviève Bujold.
Yeah, she was signed up for Voyager and pulled out at or there was some problem with her casting, and they switched over to the lady who played Janeway, Kate
Mulgrew.
Kate Mulgrew, thank you. So I mean, so from that point of view, and then of course, to add credibility to DS9, they brought over characters from, they brought over the Chief, and they brought over a few other people to sort of add credibility to that show too, right? So yeah, and let the Ferengis run around because Ferengis were just the first time Ferengis appeared on Next Generation. Was that in the first season when they run into the Ferengis for the first time? They seem like a very primitive,
I want to say it's episode 2 or 3. Yeah,
very primitive sort of representation, almost like
laser whips and
and no clothing, or they just seemed kind of weird. But they, Quark was such a dynamic character. The actor who played Quark too, right, was such a dynamic person.
Armin Shimmerman is the man. Yeah, he's so good.
Yeah, so I mean, it again, like I was trying to say last week, was that somebody had given me an analogy that the difference between Star Trek and Star Wars is kind of everybody's kind of like hacking together these spaceships and doing the best they can, whereas Star Trek is more of a utopian kind of futuristic. Everybody plays by the rules, or is supposed to play by the rules and stuff like that, decorum and all that stuff. So that was the original idea, but. Yeah, I mean, it looks interesting, looks good, and of course it's shiny and has like the Starfleet logo on it, so we'll watch.
And we're only 3 months out, so
that's true.
Buckle up, kids. We'll be your home for all things Starfleet Academy starting in January. Other bit of Starfleet Academy news that we got from Comic-Con was a bit of a surprise. I did not see this one coming. We got this video from one of our favorites, late night host Stephen Colbert, who has announced that he's going to be doing the voice of the Dean at Starfleet Academy. So So apparently he's going to be chiming in with quips and witticisms and little interjections throughout while they're on the campus in San Francisco of Starfleet Academy, which is fun. Like I think he's clearly a lover of fantasy and sci-fi. He's renowned for his love of Lord of the Rings, and he loves this stuff. He's written a couple comic books. I've read those, and they're fun. And it's nice when people dive eagerly into the nerdverse. But I don't know. Do you guys take this stuff as like stunt casting, or you take it as like it's awesome because he's awesome?
Well, I know he's looking for a job, right?
Right.
So he's hitting up everybody on his show. I watch his show all the time, and he's always hitting up people for work, right? So these days, no, it's a good thing. I mean, the PSA thing he did was a bit odd because he kind of does the Vulcan salute and says, "Do your thing," which is odd.
He's just being silly, right?
Yeah. Do that starting thing.
And the last thing we got is the first look at season 4. Although it's not really the first look at season 4, because we did get that little weird puppet teaser from, if you recall, from San Diego Comic-Con, where we saw the puppet version of Pike sitting in the command chair of Enterprise. I was speaking with someone who knows someone who's working on the set, and this is actually not our usual source, and said that they worked on that episode and that it is an absolute riot. So again, not that we weren't already excited, but I'm excited about that. Here we get like a full 5 minutes from what may well be the first episode of the season. Seems logical. Not a lot of there. Like it wasn't like, hey, this is going to be the start of an amazing adventure. It was just sort of like seemed like an episode of the week, 5 minutes. So I wasn't really blown away by this. Did you guys get anything out of this that you didn't already feel about Strange New Worlds?
It was kind of a long, almost episodic preview, right? So it did remind me of a few other things, but sort of little, Erica driving the ship sort of thing, and them sort of figuring it out, and then like, can somebody not pick up the chairs like after they arrive and the ship's been turned upside down? It was a cool effect when they actually had the video doing barrel rolls, right? And they're standing there in the boardroom talking about what's happened, and like, can't they just upright the chairs while they're talking? So just minor detail.
That bridge has been missing seatbelts for years. Jaime, what'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there was anything surprising, but it did seem like a good and return to form for Strange New Worlds. The most surprising thing to me was the Vulcan in the red suit next to Uhura. So that kind of an interesting one for them to put there. So we'll see what they do. It's continuing to just kick Spock in the shins. He's like not Vulcan enough. Not human
my
enough.
thought was, I wonder if he's going to bed her too. He seems to be on a streak over the past few seasons of sleeping with the beautiful women of Enterprise. So know.
I do have a bit of fact check. We were sort of pondering which century for Starfleet Academy. Presumably, it's in the 32nd century, because I looked this up on Memory Alpha. I was like, where does Discovery end? And without getting too particular, you'd say it ends in the 32nd century for like mainline stuff, not the jump forward, seeing children go to school and stuff like that. Maybe it takes place a little bit prior to this or something, but looks like 32nd century is when the Discovery emerges in the future. So
cool.
Yeah.
All right. Real-time fact check. Good job. Other New York City Comic-Con trailer we got was for Wonder Man, and this one's kind of flown a little under the radar. It's coming out at the end of it's coming out January. It's coming out, well after it was expected. It was expected earlier this year, and it seems pretty weird. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I really, really like Yahya Abdul-Mateen. He was in Watchmen, the television series from HBO, which, in spite of my desire to hate it, was incredible. And he was incredible in it. And I've seen his work since then, and I really like him. However, this is a very strange looking trailer. It seems like very, very meta. it seems like they're trying to sort of do, the weirdness of Hollywood inside the weirdness of the Marvel universe. It's him and Ben Kingsley back as the character from the Iron Man movies who was pretending to be the Mandarin, but actually wasn't the Mandarin. It's a strange trailer. I don't really know what to make of it. It seems like there was an existing Wonder Man previously who looks maybe like Norman Reedus. I couldn't quite place who that was. And yeah, it's a definitely a different spin on this character. In the comic books, Wonder Man, Simon Williams, is a stuntman. And he turns to a life of crime because he has to, and that's where he gets his powers, and then he reforms, and then he becomes a good guy. He comes off as like he's an actor. He's trying to get this part of Wonder Man in this movie. So yeah, it all seems pretty weird and meta to me. I'm curious to know what you guys think about this one. Tim, what do you think?
Oh, yeah, it was interesting. I like the fact that they brought back the now I've forgotten his name. Played Gandhi.
It's Ben Kingsley.
Ben Kingsley,
Trevor in the show.
They brought him back as a potential actor in the pool of actors that are going to be in it. And somebody sort of says, like, where have we seen him before? And he was a terrorist in one of the previous Marvel movies, right? Because he played a terrorist, I think, in the movie, right? Like he was.
He was pretending to be the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, right?
Yes, exactly. So I like that sort of callback, but it looks interesting. But I'm not really sure how it fits with. I know it's a Marvel title, so there's got to be something to do with superheroes, but it's kind of like the studio version of like a take on the studio. You know what I mean? Like are they going to do?
Yeah, it's like behind the scenes.
They're going to do a Warner and all that kind of stuff too, right? Maybe cook some food, some haute cuisine food or something. I don't know.
Jaime, how about you?
Yeah, I think it looks interesting. I do wonder if it's going to end up being essential. Like, are they going to toss in something here that is essential to the next phase of the MCU, or is this kind of a, hey, if you're a fan, you're a completionist, you're going to enjoy the meta nature of this, possibly kind of like the meta nature of Star Trek Lower Decks. That's kind of what I'm thinking it might be.
Yeah, it just seems a little peculiar. Maybe the idea is that he, goes out for this part and ends up actually getting powers. But it's a strange take from this first trailer. Maybe it'll get a little clearer as we get, subsequent trailers. They announced this is coming on January 27th, so this will overlap with our coverage of Starfleet Academy, which is good. And it was part of a bunch of announcements that Marvel Studios made about their 2026 Disney Plus lineup. So alongside Wonder Man coming in January, they also confirmed that Daredevil Born Again Season 2 is coming in March, and they confirmed that a Season 3 has already been locked in for the next year. So not just good news that they're going to do more of this, but good news that they're going to do more of this, and they're going to do it annually. Like right now, about the only show that does on the year every year is Slow Horses. Everything else is just kind of whenever it arrives, it arrives. Having something you can actually like schedule around is a miracle in modern television. So that's pretty cool.
Yep.
They announced that in summertime, we're going to get the second season of X-Men 97, which, Jaime, I know you were a fan of the first season. I haven't gotten to it yet, but and they already announced they're going to do a season 3. So lots of stuff coming on that front.
Without a rename. So it's not X-Men 98 and X-Men 99, right? It's just X-Men 97.
They announced the second season for Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man coming in the fall of 2026. I enjoyed the first season. I actually thought it was pretty fun. I will definitely watch this when it comes back. Again, funky animation, an interesting take on the character, kind of in its own little pocket of a Spider-Man universe, but fun. And they also announced the Vision Quest series, which we had talked about, which is the third and final part of this trilogy with WandaVision, Agatha All Along, and Vision Quest. And this is going to focus on Paul Bettany's revived White Vision character, and is apparently going to have a whole bunch of other sort of Marvel AI characters like Ultron, which is James Spader is going to be back, Friday, which is Orla Brady, and we're going to get the return of, some of the characters from the WandaVision and the Agatha All Along series. So that's pretty cool, but we are going to be waiting another year for that one. So yeah, you can wait around. But it's a pretty good lineup, and it's not too jam-packed. Now, but again, if you add in whatever they're going to do on the Star Wars front and, other shows like, there might be more Aliens, there might be more Predator, who knows what, but this is a decent pace. I'm okay with what they've got in mind here for Disney Plus. Any of this stuff jump out at you? Are you excited by anything in particular?
I just trying to remember if I would watch The Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. That was the animated one, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I know I watched an episode. I can't remember if I watched the whole series, but I have to get back to that.
They did it week by week, which was almost a little surprising. I think they did 2 episodes a week.
Right, okay.
And it lasted maybe 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's one that I took a chance on, and if folks recall, I was like, oh, it's going to be more kiddie, and it's not quite as young skewing. Like I'm not going to say it's exactly like Batman the Animated Series. It's not quite as mature as that, but it's definitely further towards Batman the Animated Series, and further away from like Paw Patrol, which is kind of what I thought it was going to be.
It's definitely got an edge to it. You're right. Like it's some of the stuff with Tombstone and some of the stuff they're doing with like the gang, violence and stuff like that was edgier, I would say, by far than typical television Spider-Man incarnations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. X-Men 97, I highly recommend, especially if you can go watch 15-minute recap or 30-minute recap of what led into this from the X-Men animated series starting from 92. So I'm really hyped for that one. Vision Quest, man, this one needs like a better name because it does make me think of like Chakotay from Star Trek Voyager. and White Vision is just too close to like White Dragon. Oh, granted, that's DC. I was like, what do you name him? Cream Vision? No, let's not do that. The Snow Vision? I don't know. Just something. It needs to be
the Great White Vision.
It's like, are you the white?
No, wait. There's somebody else down in the States doing Great White Vision right now.
Yeah. There somewhere out there. I know there's a skit on YouTube of like, hey, you're the White Power Ranger. It's like, no. I'm the White Power Ranger, as in that's the color. I'm not a White Power Ranger.
All right. Well, by the way, since you mentioned Slow Horses, I just want to, we've talked about that show a lot of times, but did you know that Sir Gary Oldman was knighted by Prince William a couple of weeks ago?
Oh, wow.
Well, it's about darn time.
Yeah. And
he had my vote years ago.
Well, and the thing about it is like that show seems to film multiple seasons at a time, which I think one of the reasons why they have the schedule so ready to go. As we saw at the end of the season, last season 3 or 3, I think it was, they showed a teaser for 4, which looked pretty complete. 4 or 5, whichever one we're in now. I think we're 4, right?
5, I think.
5, yeah. And then and just when he was getting knighted, he still had the Jackson Lamb haircut and scraggly beard. So I assume that means they're still in production.
Yeah, I know that they film them pretty much every 8 months or something like that, so that they keep ahead of things. But it's nice because it's more traditional television. It's not very CGI heavy or anything like that, so it's a lot easier to produce in that fashion. I'm impressed, and I'm hoping that means that the Daredevil series won't have more of that god-awful CGI they tried at the first episode of last season. If they're trying to do it every year,
that was broken up by the strike too, right? Wasn't it?
It was. So that definitely got them ahead of the game. But the CGI was not what you'd call movie quality in the first season of Daredevil. So hopefully we won't have that problem again. All right, Jaime, you're up.
Yeah, continuing in the proud tradition of HBO Go, HBO Now, HBO Max, and now back to HBO Max. Tim Cook has said, you know what? Apple TV Plus is now verily Apple TV. And we have this article from The Verge, for those of you transporting at home, where as I'm not the first one to note this. I can't remember where I saw it, probably on X. And somebody said, so you can watch Apple TV in Apple TV on Apple TV, and just have to know how to parse that. So for those of you following at home,
that won't be confusing
that is
at all.
the Apple TV streaming service in the Apple TV app, potentially on an Apple TV device. Although the device is not necessary. If you're like me, you can use a Roku or a Chromecast or Google TV to use Apple TV on or in Apple TV.
Oh, the Apple TV app runs on there? Okay. Yeah, the hardware technically has been named Apple TV 4K for the last 2 generations, right? So it's not confusing. But Apple does it all the time. They come out with the iPad 4 and call it the iPad.
New iPad. Remember that? Really? That was a pain for everybody.
No, they never said there was never a new. Was there a new iPad? I can't remember. It was just iPad, wasn't it?
I believe they just called it iPad, and I think referred to it, verbally as new iPad.
Yeah. It's not confusing at all. The marketing people at Apple are a challenge at most times, right?
I just assume that, there's some sort of natural mild narcotic that grows, seasonally or something, and then it just hits them the right way. The wafting plumes in their face as they walk in circles around Apple Park.
Jaime, do you want to read this next one, or did you have a chance to look at this one? I just put this in earlier, but it's a follow-up on Apple TV.
Yeah, so from Deadline.com, this is exactly what we're just talking about right here in the headline. Apple TV and Peacock form streaming bundle starting at $15 a month. So no plus. We don't see the plus in the logo here, just Apple TV, your Apple logo and TV. So, wow, 30% off the full retail prices. This is Apple TV's ad-free and can be combined with the ad-supported Peacock Premium or the ad-free Peacock Premium Plus. Latter plan costs $19.99 a month. Wow.
And lost in this one is, once again, Peacock not available in Canada. Go jump in a lake.
Yeah, so just to back up on that one, did you say the price is discounted? And is there like a term for how long it's been discounted for, or until it goes back in price? If they're fine print, in other words.
Yeah, let's see.
I can't read the ad because I can't read the article because I have ad blocking and they won't let me read the
bundled
article.
Offering. Presumably, that's the ad-supported Peacock at $14.99 a month. If you want ad-free Peacock Premium Plus, it'd be $19.99 a month. Does it state an end date here? Until the quarterly results aren't looking too good, Tim. There you go. So indefinitely, but not forever.
Yeah, that's about right. Okay, some bad news to share. Last episode, we just talked about losing one of our iconic movie poster artists, and this week we lost the most iconic movie poster artist of the probably, you could argue, of all time. Drew Struzan died this week. He was 78. He is a name you may not know, although you probably should, considering he has painted pretty much every movie poster that you can remember from your life. He is an absolute icon. I, in my previous home, and hopefully eventually in my new home, had movie posters up on the wall in our movie room, where we sit and gather around and watch TV. And it occurred to me as I was reading about his passing this week that of the 6 posters on my wall, 4 of them are painted by Drew Struzan. So, the original Back to the Future, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, name an iconic franchise and think of an iconic movie poster, and he's the one that did it. Blade Runner, E.T. I mean, he is the John Williams of movie posters. If there was a big event, blockbuster movie, Drew Struzan drew the poster for it, or painted the poster for it. And he also did, a million other ones, including, Mallrats. Like, he did all kinds of stuff. Howard the Duck. Like, he was just ubiquitous with movies for 50 years. Just an absolute incredibly talented person, incredible painter. It's a real treat. This week, after his passing, Kevin Smith, the movie director, shared on his socials, he still has the original painting on which they based the Mallrats poster. And it's incredible. And you just realize like this guy was just, off the charts talented. And yeah, major impact on making things exciting, building the hype for all these movies that have become these iconic franchises, iconic films. You don't think about it quite as much necessarily as some of the other contributors to creating a movie, but those posters really do pull you in. And when you look at the body of his work, you're just blown away. So amazing career, and absolutely an icon that will go down in history as somebody who really special at his craft.
It's bananas. I did a Google search, and I'm going to try, don't bottom my head off if I repeat some of the ones you said. I think I didn't hear Hook, possibly E.T. or Blade Runner, Harry Potter, Big Trouble in Little China. I'm like, man, this is prolific.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Wow.
Yeah. And again, it's so funny because when you look at some of those ones, you think like, oh, somebody took a photograph or whatever. But no, these are paintings. Like he actually did paintings that are at times they're hyper realistic. They're not photorealistic, but they're these hyper versions of, real people and real faces and stuff like that. But I mean, his paintings of Indiana Jones, they're inseparable from the films to me. Inseparable.
Yeah, and he did in the article here, it says he came back and he did all the covers for the re-release of all the Star Wars special editions in the 90s. And he actually did a poster for The Force Awakens as well. Came out of retirement to do that one. Yeah.
Just incredible body of work. Absolutely a legend. And yeah, we will miss him. You got news about another legend, Tim?
Yeah, this just happened today. I just happened to notice that Alan Cross had posted that Ace Frehley, the original lead guitarist from Kiss, was in the hospital, and since just before we started recording, he just passed away at the age of 74.
And I can connect that to our world pretty easily because Kiss is one of my very favorite comic book stories. So back in the 70s, they were going to do a Kiss Treasury Edition, one of those oversized comic books they used to put out in the 70s for Marvel Comics. And as part of the promotion, the band members of Kiss went to the press plant and they all donated blood.
Yeah.
And they all put their blood into the printing ink. And so if you own a first printing of that Kiss comic from the 70s, theoretically, there is trace amounts of the original band members of Kiss's blood.
You have their DNA.
Yeah, you can clone your own Ace Frehley.
But you probably end up with a Gene Simmons instead, though.
One of my very favorite stories, and years later, one of my favorite comic book writers when I was a kid is a man named Mark Grunwald, who wrote Captain America for years and years and years, and also wrote this incredibly terrific, please go read it, Squadron Supreme story in the 1980s. It's basically like, it's a spin on the Justice League, but it's like, what if everything went wrong for the Justice League? It's terrific. Anyways, Mark, when he died prematurely, died of cancer when he was young. He had his ashes mixed into ink, and so the first ever paperback reprinting of the entire Squadron Supreme is the same thing. If you have a first printing, you got a little bit of Mark in your book because he put his ashes in there. So yeah,
cool. Yeah, so this story is the story that won't go away. It's like 3 weeks now. Let's talk about Tilly Norwood again. But this time, Deadpool star Ryan Reynolds has hired a real-life Tilly Norwood to star in the new Mint Mobile commercial. And I don't know that I've not seen the commercial. I don't know if I may have seen the commercial because it runs in the States. It's an American product, right? And there's no video in the link. I checked it earlier, but I just saw this the other day, and I just thought, I had to put this in. And if you go to this article on IGN and you read some of the related articles, you can see the backlash from SAG-AFTRA and a few other places about how they're trying to get agencies not to book this AI actress, right, or AI entity, whatever you want to call it, work of art, blah blah blah. Yeah. Anyway, so that's the story that will not die.
Oh, I was going to say, he actually went out and found a woman named Tilly Norwood.
Yeah.
And brought her on to do these commercials out of spite, which is pretty funny.
Thanks. Well, he's a funny guy.
they do show Mint Mobile commercials here. I've not seen this particular one, but I'll keep an eye out for it. But it is kind of fun that their whole sort of Ryan Reynolds shtick for it is trolling as a marketing plan. So this is right in brand with his own personal branding and the sort of fashion-forward brand of Mint Mobile.
Yeah, I'll look on YouTube, see if I can find a link to it and put it in the show notes.
It does say in the story here that at the end of the ad, a voiceover goes on to mention that the new Mint Mobile internet deal is only available to carbon-based organisms, and AI need not apply. It's pretty funny.
All right, well, that brings us to the main part of the show where we talk about something Star Trek related, if there's something. And we are going to continue with our review of the Star Trek animated series, and then we'll go on to the other two that we've been following, Peacemaker and Gen V. So this week, we're talking about Season 1, Episode 7, The Infinite Vulcan, and Season 1, Episode 8, The Magick of Megas 2. I don't know why they didn't spell it TWO, though. It's spelled TU. Anyway, or put the number 2 there like they do in other, or Roman numerals 2 or whatever. So animated series, The Infinite Vulcan. So what did you guys think about this one? Pew-pews in these two episodes were kind of strange, right? If you can call it that.
These were both really weird ones, I thought.
My note about I forgot to mention, the note of the Infinite Vulcan was written by Walter Koenig.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Mr. Chekhov himself.
Yeah, and he's not in the animated series, right? We talked about that?
Nope.
Yeah.
He was the only one that wouldn't come back.
Oh, but he wrote a story.
That's why
the story they used was The Infinite Vulcan.
It's possible that he had written it for the
OG show,
original series, or exactly. Let's start at the beginning. So the Infinite Vulcan is a weird one. So they go to a planet that has vegetation-based sentient life forms, and that was pretty weird to start with. Although I must admit, that's kind of one of the things I like about this animated series, and even in subsequent, even when we talk about, the two series that are more recent in Lower Decks and Prodigy, it's kind of fun that you can do anything, right? Like you can really go crazy. Like in these two episodes, we saw like the giant Spock. We see the alien, lots of weird aliens. The alien bird things and stuff that would have been very difficult to do in 1973, if this was a live action product. So I like the creativity. I like the imagination. That being said, both of these episodes were a little batcrap crazy. They were both pretty weird. They reminded me of some of the Star Trek from the 60s that I was not as big a fan of, where it was just like it's like sci-fi fantasy bouillabaisse. We'll just throw it all in there and make a stew out of it, like it just felt really kind of like a lot of ideas and not a lot of straight lines.
Right. Yeah. Or moving chins.
I may.
Yeah, this one, I think people will visualize the Spock 2, the giant Spock we did mention in Lower Decks, right? The large skeleton with the Starfleet.
Yeah, that's right.
The classic blue Starfleet TOS uniform.
Yep. Yeah, that was an excellent, really, really deep cut tag up for them.
Yeah. Well, there's a 70s Easter egg in here for me, and that was I love the brass blast and then the da-na-na-na-na-na. Like that, to me, when I hear that, that's like the animated series. But the screeching eagle sound, that was in every single cartoon back in the
absolutely.
day. Yeah. If it was a pterodactyl, eagle, whatever these things were.
Land of the Lost, you name a show from the 70s.
It's like that was the Heinlein scream, or what's that one called? I
know what you mean.
Yeah.
I must say the music is another thing. Like I still find it weird that they didn't just use the original
Alexander
the original song. Like that's such an iconic one. This it's okay, but it's not quite as good. But the music throughout the show is so of the original series. It immediately just hits me in that nostalgic feels. Like this, it's so bang on, right? It just feels so much like the original series. I love that part. But Yeah, both of these episodes were, I would say, pushing the boundaries a little bit of that type of sci-fi that I enjoy. Hey, this person's cloned themselves 5 times and is a giant and also part of the eugenics war. Again, it just felt like there was too many things coming all over the place for this one. But I it's still super fun. I love how dry some of the dialogue is compared to the weirdness. Like, I would love to see this episode, particularly the Infinite Vulcan, remade as like a Lower Decks episode, because there's got to be at least some point where somebody looks at the other one and goes, isn't this just crazy? Like, this is just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're definitely able to go sort of wild in this stuff. And I think you're right, because of the animation medium. Like, I mean, just think of it as like giant Spock. Why? Because it's easy to do. Next. Be really challenging to do in camera. In animation, no different. Costs us just as much to do. Make it look interesting. And the very alien nature of the living plant species is just like, what's the name of the guy who has Chekhov's place on the bridge? Like, he's just very alien looking.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, it's really kind of cool that they're able to take advantage of that.
Eric's?
Yeah,
Eric's, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah. It and again, that kind of stuff, like, I thought that was pretty fun and inventive. Like, yes, hey, like, we should have an alien on the bridge because, of course, we're a federation of aliens, and that stuff is kind of fun. And I will say, I did notice, especially when we got to the Magics of Megas 2, I thought the animation took a bit of a turn for the better. The part where they're like going to the center of the galaxy, some of it was a little hokey, but like some of the angles where they were showing like the top of the ship sort of coming towards the screen and stuff, I thought the animation was kind of a step forward from some of the previous episodes too, which was kind of nice to see because it had been a little bit static. Although some of again, we talked about sort of the overload of science fiction fantasy tropes in here. They tried every single visual effect you could think of when they're coming towards the center of the galaxy. It's like waves and then lights and then flashing lights and then, lightning bolts. And it was everything you could do with classic cell animation back in the 1970s, right?
This was the one that reminded me of because I watched this first and then I watched the Strange New Worlds one, and they're kind of going to the center of whatever, that's what I sort of said earlier when I said that the other one reminded me of something. It was this one here where they go to the center of, but didn't they, with Cybok, didn't they go to the center of the galaxy, center of the universe at some point,
That's what I was thinking. Like, wasn't that the plot to that terrible Star Trek 5?
Yeah, what does God want with
universe?
a starship? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Written by
what does
William
God
Kirk.
want with a starship?
Yeah.
Oh my
Was
God.
that written by Shatner as well, or just directed by him?
I don't think so. I think he just directed it.
Anyway.
Ugh, so bad.
And the whole concept of like Spock saying, you have to believe, forget logic. You have to believe that you can do magic or whatever, right? So,
can we also talk about the inappropriate point at which Sulu says the Vulcan mind touch?
Yes. That was which show was that one? That was in the first one.
That was in the first one.
Yeah, I have something to say about the second one too, by the way. But I don't know if we're there yet.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard it called the Vulcan mind touch, and I'm not sure I like it being called that because it sounds very icky.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Sounds very, very strange.
Please don't touch my mind.
That's what they did in Undiscovered Country, wasn't that the Vulcan mind touch with Kim Cattrall?
Yeah. yeah.
Anyway. But so are we?
So what did you see in 8?
Are we talking about the Magic of Megas 2 yet?
I feel like we're kind of going back and forth. But go ahead.
Because my one thing about the thing was when because it all had to do with magic and hiding the fact that you know how to use magic because they're going to come and get you, and it turns out to be the 16th century or 1600 America Salem witch trials, which kind of this. I mean, I realize this is like 1973, and people didn't really understand the Salem witch trials yet because we had shows like Bewitched, which went there as well. But that was just a way of keeping women down.
Sure
right?
was.
And killing them for being independent and being free thinkers and things like that, right? And
yeah,
I mean Carol and I we've gone to the Salem cemetery and read the tombstones, to pay respect to these women that were unjustly murdered, basically. But yeah, and I found it odd that, again, like I know it's 1973 and stuff like that this was done, but we're watching it here in 2025, and to not make a point of the fact that it was inappropriate in my mind would be unfair.
Yeah, is this the point where we start getting into the weird idea of them encountering the devil?
Yeah, that too. Yeah, well, as soon as he said his name was what he didn't say Lucifer. He said
Lucian.
something else.
He said Lucian.
And he's got horns, and he's got like cloven hooves, and he's got the bottom half of him is like a goat. So he's one of those. I forget what they call those characters in Greek mythology. Satyr. Yeah, I think so. But that was in our sort of parlance, that's just what the devil is supposed to look like, and they do call him the Tempter or something like that. At one point, they give him the name. Like,
well, by the end of the episode, they do reveal that. Sorry, spoilers if you haven't watched this show from November of 1973, but October of 1973. But they do say, well, he was also known as, and you're like, what? The guy with the horns and the hairy legs?
Yeah,
what?
Yeah. What a surprise! Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was pretty devil-coated from his first appearance, but
exactly,
it like I say, it's whatever. It's good. I'm glad they're pushing the envelope, being creative, all that, whatever. But boy,
yeah, and like I said, the pew 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 in both of these episodes were just sort of like flaky, magic-y kind of flashy animation. There wasn't any phasers drawn or whatever. It was just very strange.
It is one of those ones where it's a strange mishmash of taking advantage of what the animation can give you, and doing a very classic sort of Star Trek trope of, hey, aliens are testing humanity here, right? And it was like a big old gotcha test, and yet it also follows in line with what the real show, sorry, not the live action shows do, of like, well, why is it Salem witch trial? Well, because this is what we have on the back lot. It's like, well, there is no back lot. You can draw crazy plant people just as easily as you can draw pilgrims, right? Like, it's kind of a fun choice here, sort of looked at as a meta of how closely were they trying to adhere to what the tone and style of the live action show was versus just letting it go wild with like Big Spock, cuz, sort of choices.
Yeah, although it doesn't seem out of whack if you're a fan of the original series too. Like, there was a lot of incongruous, exactly what you're talking about, Tim. Like, some of it was like, hey, we need to keep the budget under control. Guess what? This episode's set during World War II because we have a World War II set over there, or we have a cityscape or whatever. But yeah, I mean, you remember the episode where they they have to bring back the mightiest heroes to fight the nastiest villains, and they have like Abraham Lincoln shows up, and like somehow this kind of fits with that iteration of Star Trek where you're like, that's pretty random, and then you're like, I guess they did do a lot of this kind of weird, why did this work kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Well, I also thought too that when Sulu discovers the little mobile plant that bites him and poisons him, and then the plant creatures show up, that reminded me a bit of the Next Generation too. They used to do plots like that, right? Where they have these planets, strange new worlds, and they discover strange new inhabitants, right? So not assuming that everybody's going to be like biologically based, right? These what is it? Spock put it botanically based, right?
Yeah,
because they were looking for life forms in the form of mammals or reptiles or insects or something, right? So
the moral of the story is, if a plant walks up to you, go the other way.
Yeah, don't pick it up and pet it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Magick one is a bit of a stretch too, I think, because
like I said, both of these ones were sort of pushing the envelope of credulity for sure. I mean, they both felt a little weird.
Just not as good as a guy in a rubber suit, and you're doing like the double fist pump to the back of his neck, right? Or whatever. I'm talking about the arena.
Now, a word from our sponsor. Now, back to the show.
Okay, well, let's move on to Peacemaker, the finale, the full Nelson, the whole enchilada. So I don't know. Like I didn't watch the professional wrestling, like the WWH or whatever they WFC and all that kind of stuff. I watched wrestling back in the 70s and 80s. The full Nelson was like the move. I don't know if it's still the move, Jonathan.
I mean, I don't think so. I have not a wrestling watcher either. I haven't been for a long time, but
it's the move where you come up behind the guy and you wrap your arms, you put your hands behind his head and push forward or something like that. Yeah,
it's if you lock your fingers in on a full Nelson, it's hard. But this one is also a double entendre because, of course, the band that Chris and Harcourt go to see at the beginning of the episode when they have their date, that is sort of the underlying thread of this whole season is Nelson, right?
Right, yeah.
Those are Ricky Nelson's kids, right? That's
and
that's
the
their
grandchildren of Ozzy and Harriet. Yep.
There you go. So, so obviously that's sort of the underlying piece of the season is Chris keeps saying, like, tell me that didn't mean anything, but we never actually got to see what it was that happened between them. Here we finally get the play out, and it's that the two of them had this surprisingly romantic date. She wasn't prepared for it. They had their first kiss, and then she freaked out and bugged out, and then now knowing sort of where that left us, then we go back to where we left off previously, which is Chris is in prison for having this illegal alien tech, and he basically believes that he's the root of all evil, that he is the cause of everything bad that happens to everyone around him, and he's not wrong, but and so basically it's about the gang trying to figure out a way to not just get him out of prison, but get him out of his self-hating mindset. Meanwhile, Rick Flag Sr. is doing his darndest to make sure that everything goes wrong for Peacemaker, because he hates him for killing his son. The fun wrinkle that they throw in here is that they use this stable portal that they got from Chris to explore inside of this what was Chris's dad's storage locker, basically, and go through all these doors looking for this stable, perfect dimension. But we get this great montage of all these messed up places that they end up, that people dying in horrible ways. The one with the little munchkins that explode into candy dust when they get killed, but are biting people's faces off is pretty messed up. But they end up with this place called Salvation, and they are essentially going to use this as a negative zone type of prison. So the concept of like an alternate dimension as a prison is not new to comic books. It's not new to sci-fi, but Salvation is actually something that has come from the comic books, the DC comic books universe. At one point, they did round up all the bad guys, including guys like Joker and Luthor and all those people, and put them on this place called Salvation. And they did a little limited series called Salvation Run, where all these bad guys are basically stuck on this planet with aliens and monsters and whatever else, and they all have to figure out, in spite of the fact that several of them are absolute psychopaths and some of them are deeply unhinged, they have to figure out how to work together to get out. I don't know if that's where this is going, but they certainly set the stage for something bad to happen going forward. So,
well, don't they leave somebody at the end of the episode?
They sure do. Yep. Spoilers. Mm-hmm. Guess where Chris is at the end of this. And the other neat thing I'll just mention before I pass the baton, but part of this is, they do get Chris out of his doldrums, and they do decide to basically get everybody together and form this new agency based on sort of what Adebayo was trying to do, which is, get basically an independent agency, kind of like Argus, but not beholden to this, inherent corruption and government oversight. So they create Checkmate. Checkmate is a comic book creation as well from the mid-'80s. It was created in Action Comics and then carried over into its own series and overlapped in, it was a spy agency comic book. It was a good spy book. I actually kind of like the original Checkmate series, and it tied into crossovers with Peacemaker, with Suicide Squad, with that sort of grittier, crimier, spyverse part of the DC universe. So fun that they brought that around. Whether or not Checkmate is something that's going to continue into the future, they still haven't announced if they're going to do a Peacemaker season 3 or where this is all going. James Gunn has said that the ramifications of this episode will be felt in the next Superman movie and in other things going forward. Whether that means we'll see Chris or where we're going to get more of this stuff, I don't know. But and if somebody could explain to me why all of a sudden Bordeaux, Flurry, and Judo Master just join up with them, that was kind of weird too.
Yeah, as opposed to being enemies of them. Yeah,
yeah.
Well, I think they were being weird. Forced to do that by Argus, right? Like they're sort of like it was either go to jail or because they all seem to think this was their work now to go explore these alternate doors, right?
Yeah, and Judo Master seemed like he was sort of always in a bit of a gray area. But like Flurry and Bordeaux, I mean, Bordeaux, we see obviously she sort of doesn't like what Flag Senior's doing and sort of turns her back. Okay, that one I can buy into. Flurry was weird because like he was pretty into all this stuff. So, and how he would team up with Eagly afterwards, I'm not sure how that happens, but never be a teammate with a duck after what happened to him last time. But
so the question I do have is that you had mentioned that James Gunn was saying that this episode was supposedly the one he had pitched as the sort of the selling point for this. It was kind of most of it was a mediocre episode. The door area section was fun, like you said. It had some interesting, what the heck, man stuff. The trying to get the closure on what was going on between Harcourt and Chris. I like the fact that the very last band was the band that plays the theme song, right, in the episode. Yeah. But what was your takeaway? What was the big thing that James Gunn was building? Is it the sanctuary thing you mentioned, or what do you think it was? Yeah,
I truly don't know. I must admit, I was waiting for a shoe to drop on this episode because he had talked it up so much, and I found myself watching this thinking like, This was the thing. Like, honestly, and I don't think I'm going too far on a ledge here. This might have been the worst episode of the season.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was mediocre. I was expecting to be a banger, like you had said, right? So
yeah,
I'm blaming you. By the way.
I completely understand. No, I must admit, I was a little let down by this one as well. I mean, it was good that we got, I liked that we got to see what happened between Chris and Harcourt. I liked that, we kind of got the band back together to an extent. I hate shows that end on a cliffhanger when there isn't a clear path forward. Again, it's fine and good to put Chris in salvation, but then
I think he's the guinea pig, right? Like leaving him there. Anyway, so there's 3 of us on this podcast that watched this episode. What does Jaime think?
Yeah, I would agree that it was filled with real hold my beer energy. We've talked about that, where the sharp turn into like, hey, they're all happy in the Checkmate organization did feel like fever dream or rug was going to be pulled. It's a strange choice and feels like it doesn't fit in with the rest of the season. I don't think it ruins the season. I don't think it's anything like that. It's clearly meant to set up the next stage of the DC universe, cinematic universe. But it was a really odd choice, I thought, to do it this way.
Yeah, I don't understand why you finish up here. I almost felt like when I was watching this, I was like, oh, I get it. You're doing Age of Ultron. You're just setting up a bunch of stuff that's going to happen in other things. But I didn't like the ending of that either. So yeah, I mean, maybe we'll get a 3rd season, or there'll be a continuation of this in another Suicide Squad or some other thing that will wrap all these things together and it will feel more cohesive. But right now, this didn't feel like it landed particularly well for what I thought was a pretty fun and goofy season.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, it wasn't as like, wasn't it last season? Yeah, where they had the whole thing with the barn and they had to sneak up and get in, and there was some basement-y battle thing that went on. That was much more of a like 7 and 8 episodes were pretty interesting, pretty compelling, right? You wanted to see how that completed, right? But this was like meh, to a certain extent. I mean, like I said, it had some fun points, but it didn't like the rug was missing. It didn't tie the whole room together, you know?
Nope, I agree. Yeah, no, it's like I say, it's a bit disappointing. And even they left, the alternate dimension, the bad place that they left. We left Keith alive. They didn't really give us much closure around that, so that's sort of hanging out there from episode 7. Yeah, I don't know. It ultimately, I think this was a pretty fun season. I tuned into Peacemaker because I think that this group of actors are fun together. I think that the concepts are both fun and at times absurd, which is really kind of that's my wheelhouse. Like, I like James Gunn's work. I think he does a good job of being lighthearted but also having a heart, and I think that the season met a lot of those expectations right up until this part.
Yeah.
I almost feel like if they'd ended it with basically like Chris going away in handcuffs at the end of episode 7, that might have almost been better. Where it's just like, oh no, Chris is going to jail and he's left them all behind. Like, it just having him stuck in a place that we know probably has future ramifications, but no sense of where it's going is disappointing.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it looked better on paper. I don't know. Like,
yeah,
we don't know.
Yeah.
But let's move on to Gen V, to Hell Week.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into Gen V, season 2, episode 7, Hell Week, I just want to point out that I think Jonathan called it.
Well, it happens.
Yeah, so we start the episode. They're over with I can't remember who the super duper guy that are in his house.
Cypher.
Was it Cypher's house? No. No.
Oh, at the beginning, no. They're at was it Giancarlo Esposito's character? What's his name?
Who's not in the episode too, which I found.
Stan Edgar.
Yeah, so we start off with
the bunker.
We start out with Annabeth having visions, dreams of her sister Marie being, in pools of blood, and so she's like concerned about her, and so she gets up and she runs into her room where she's supposed to be, and she's not there, obviously, because we saw in the end of episode 6 that she and Kate leave to go and battle Cypher, apparently, or something like that, right? But the thing we've been talking about the last couple of weeks, and spoilers if you haven't watched it, Jaime, you're blocking your ears, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that Jonathan was right in that, thinking that I've forgotten his name now, the dude who invented this stuff, the mutant
Godolkin
is the burned guy, right? And not only is he the burned guy, he's the puppet master.
Yeah.
Right. Because we discover halfway through the episode that the gentleman who is being put forward as Cypher is just a guy who lost his job at Blockbuster, and and he complains that, like, once Godolkin leaves his head, and because of something that Marie does, he's kind of just a guy now, right? And he's begging for his life, right, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so we find out that the real Cypher is in fact a menace, and it's the Godolkin guy, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So what did you think of the episode?
Yeah. I mean, this is another interesting one. So this is the penultimate episode. Next week's the finale. This is another one where this kind of feels like, this felt like where this was headed was they were going to have this conflict. Marie had learned that her power wasn't just about controlling blood, but that she could do so much more with it over the course of the season. And so she's also, we see her heal Polarity, whose powers have been giving him tremors and been giving him all these problems. And then, she goes to the ultimate extreme of going and finding Godolkin and thinking, oh, I'll heal him and then he'll help us stop Cypher, without realizing that the other shoe is about to drop, and that she's just basically put Godolkin back into his own body and healed him, and now he's going to be out. He has his own versions of the master race and what supers are and everything else, and it kind of aligns with what Homelander believes, which is the survival of the strongest, and and death to those who are weaker and everything else. So how they land this plane is where I'm really thinking about now is, okay, so we talked about how this has now sort of become pretty essential viewing, could potentially have a big impact on the final season. What Marie and the band from God You have been doing is basically thinking that they were going to be able to try and find a way to get an ally to help them take out Homelander, and it might have gone the opposite way. So it's hard to imagine that Godolkin doesn't become a character in the final season of The Boys at this point.
Do you think Godolkin was in the guise of Cypher manipulating Marie to become like the second super, like to take on Homelander, or was he just manipulating her to the point where she'll heal him so then he can go?
I was thinking about that because initially I would have said the former, and then as I was watching this and saw her heal him, I was like, oh, was that what this was always all about? Was if he pushes her to get her powers to a certain point, then she'll be able to use her powers to heal him. Because when he comes back as a healed person, he says, you did it. You actually did it, right? Which makes me think, oh, that's what he wanted all along, was for her to heal him. What is interesting, though, is, and the thing that was a really good red herring is good writing, the relationship between who we thought was Cypher and Godolkin when he was burned in his
why was
unit,
he abusing,
where he's beating the crap out of him?
Yeah.
Well, because he doesn't feel it, and two, because he's so frustrated because his body is useless, right?
Oh, okay.
But that wasn't really conveyed until you have the full picture, and then you're like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. He's so mad that his real body is useless and that he has to basically keep himself alive. Like, you're thinking, like, why is this guy who, in the Cypher character that we were used to all season had been such a piece of crap, why does he take such good care of this person? And again, we'd speculated earlier in the season, well, maybe he is the one who, gives him his powers, or he's the one who somehow does something special or does more or something else. But to have that be, oh, that's actually my body, and I'm just
so it's like cutting yourself kind of deal, like the people who are depressed who cut themselves. Like, is that the idea?
Yeah, it's basically taking out his frustrations, right? So yeah, that's it was a really, really well written twist. But and then to bring it full circle, to have him come out and he's just like, oh, it's a beautiful day, I'm so happy breathing the fresh air, and then he's like, you're not a real person with powers, and just basically has the guy kill himself. You're like, oh, that's right, he's a monster. So like it's going to be interesting to see where we sort of go from here, because we've got all of our people, they're back in God You, but God is back.
Why didn't he alien Earth our gang when he was in the room with them? Like, why didn't he just chop them all into little pieces and then go out and say wonderful day?
Yeah. Because that's not what bad guys in TV shows and movies do. But you're right. That's
they explain what they're going to do first, and then they do it, or what?
Or honestly, I think he was still kind of euphoric from finally being back in his own body and being healthy again. But two, I think at this point, he's like, I can kill these people whenever I want. It doesn't matter. I'm back. I'm Thomas Godolkin. I'm the god here at God You. Like, I don't need to worry about these people coming back to haunt me. Who cares? Like,
so Homelander was in episode 8, season 1, right?
Sure was.
So do you think Homelander's going to come into episode 8, season 2?
I wonder. I mean, if this is, as we've sort of suspected, kind of a shadow,
the OK Corral, right? The OK Corral
Boys season tee up, then I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a bunch of cameos. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Homelander. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Starlight. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Butcher or anybody else in the finale, if it's going to carry forward. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, all these people are like, uh-oh, we really, kind of crapped the bed on this one. And then we see the rest of the Starlighters coming in and saying, hey, actually, you know what? We can use you now. Let's all team up and go into the final season. But
yeah, there was a bit of a preview for episode 8 at the end of this one, but I can't remember. So I watched it like maybe an hour ago, but I can't remember. I just was surprised by the fact that they were showing so much. But yeah, there wasn't really much revealed there. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, again, for
secondary the series that is, I think they are really kind of doing pretty well here. Like, this is compelling stuff. It's not, it's not always the top-notch acting. It's certainly not always top-notch budgetary and everything else, but it's pretty compelling. And, I really like this as an addition to the Boys universe, which
But I think as the show goes, you could watch Gen V without having to watch the Boys. Like, don't you think?
You could. I guess the question is, when Starlighter shows up, when Homelander shows up. I mean, they speak about a lot of these characters in sort of hushed tones. There's a lot of references to the sort of main character energy of the other ones. That's the only thing that I think is kind of a little bit weaker here is I like that, like Marie's clearly, Marie is the sort of center of this gang, and Jazz Sinclair, who plays Marie, is sort of the
star of the show, yeah,
quote unquote star, although it is pretty much an ensemble. I mean, between Marie and Emma, who's the shrinking, and Kate and Sam, they're kind of the group at this point, right? Oh, and Jordan, of course, yeah, which is two different actors and one character. So there's like the five of them that are sort of, they all have their moments in the spotlight, but like, I mean, my favorite character is probably Emma.
Yeah.
Who's just, because she's funny and she's brave, and she doesn't have the most killer powers, and she's got these self-confidence. She's a very relatable character, but none of them have really popped for me. Like, I'm not like, Kate's my jam or Jordan's this. Like, none of them have really sort of separated themselves as like, wow, that person's a star or anything else. Like, that's the only thing it sort of I think takes it down a smidge. I mean, when you look at the lineup of actors that they have on The Boys, it's a tier up for sure. It's a tier up in the performances, the abilities, the talent level of that show is a little higher.
Yeah, I like the way they did the Jordan switches early in the episode, like because often the camera just changes angles and it's a different gender, right? They actually did the gender swap in front of us, right? I did see an interview on IMDb last week. I'll see if I can maybe put it in show notes, but of the actors talking about their roles and and what would their character do and that kind of stuff. So you get to see all of the actors as in their day clothes, right? Including the gentleman who plays Cypher and the person who plays so and so's dad with the Tremors.
Oh, Polarity,
yeah. As well as Cade and Emma, and all just in street clothes, right? And the two actors who play Jordan, right? In real life, right? So it is an interesting interview, and you get to hear their real accents and stuff like that, which is kind of always fun, right?
Yeah.
It's a good show. I mean, I'm looking forward to next week to see what comes of it. So more. Yeah,
and I will say it's done what it, I think, most importantly needed to do, which is I am reinvigorated in my excitement for the next season of The Boys. Like, already excited that it was going to come, already excited that it was going to be the final season, but like, considering the gap between seasons, as there always is for these things, this is a perfect way to keep my interest level up for sure.
True. Cool. All right. Well, let's move on to the watch list, and we can bring Jaime can come out of the cone of silence and tell us about his pick.
Yeah, Karate Kid Legends, I realized, is available on Netflix. So I watched it. And I'm going to give you the Rotten Tomatoes, and then I'm going to explain to you my thoughts. So Rotten Tomatoes says, and for folks who remember, this is, bringing together the entire cinematic universe. So we have the Ralph Macchio Karate Kid, and we have the Jackie Chan, Mr. Han Karate Kid, because Pat Morita has passed away, so you can't have Mr. Miyagi, and pulls them together behind a newer Karate Kid, right? And Rotten Tomatoes, the critics say 58%, and the fans say 90%.
Wow, okay.
It's quite the split. And I think that explains pretty well. If you're like me and you watched all the seasons of Cobra Kai, and you enjoyed all of the fan service that they have, the member berries, nostalgia stuff, this is more of that. So just be aware of what you're getting in for. It's a really breezy hour and a half, and after watching it and talking to my significant other, I said, I feel like it could have been an hour 45 or maybe like a 2 hours to make it just add a little bit more to some of the storylines. It kind of feels like a speed run through a Karate Kid film, but it is overall pretty enjoyable. Again, if you're into the nostalgia and the appeal of the Karate Kid series.
Oh, I'm up next. This is a quick one here. A couple of things. One is both related to Apple TV Plus. F1 is coming to Apple TV Plus December 12th. So if you're waiting for... And it's funny because you can buy it, but you can't rent it yet, which I find odd. I can't believe that they don't need the money, I guess, right? The revenue, because I'm sure people would have rented it if they could. But yeah, it's going to be... I think it's going to be available for free as part of Apple TV. I'm going to say Apple TV Plus, but I don't think I'm supposed to anymore. And then this is something like every week I go in and I check Apple iTunes to see what movies are on sale because I want to see, I want to get as many 3D titles for my Vision Pro as I can. It was an expensive device and I really enjoy watching 3D content on it. Disney is great for 3D content. Apple is up and down in terms of and I don't know if it's Apple or the publishers of the actual titles that decide what goes in 3D and what doesn't. That said, so this is my PSA, is I bought Mission Impossible in December, and I bought Mission Impossible Fallout in December, which is the 6th movie, I think, and World War Z in November of last year, in 2024. They were both available in 3D, and I watched them in 3D on my Vision Pro. Like when you launch a movie on the Vision Pro TV app, it asks you if you want to watch it in 2D or 3D, and you get to choose which format you want to watch it in. So, of course, I watched them in 3D. And I just happened to be on my Apple TV yesterday, or my Apple TV app on the Vision Pro yesterday, and Mission Impossible Fallout and World War Z are no longer available in 3D. They're only available in 2D. And I'm pissed because I paid for them, and where the heck are my movies, right? So we've been going on and on about, the whole sort of buy the discs, blah, 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 download the thing. I mean, I probably, if I had downloaded them to my device, I probably would still be able to play the 3D title. But I think it's unconscionable that Apple or whoever changed the metadata on the iTunes store to strip away the 3D. I mean, you're buying these movies thinking you're paying for a quality 3D experience, and they can just go in and without word of warning remove that. Doesn't seem fair. And It's only in Canada because other people who are in the States who saw my PSA said I can still see the 3D icon on the American App Store. No fair, no fair.
Write a letter.
Yeah, I don't know. I know it's either Sony or whoever owns these titles, right? So no, I have a newsletter. I'm going to be, venting my frustration there. Anyway, go ahead.
I think you're justified, Tim. It's basically it's misleading. You paid for something that you no longer have access to. That's not okay.
Yeah,
I want to say that Amazon Prime Video or maybe Amazon Video, they have so many brands there. Nevertheless, I want to say Amazon was getting a class action suit against them where it was saying, look, I'm clearly not buying the thing because you can take the thing away from me at any time. Might be for good reasons, like, hey, the rights owner says, hey, remember Amazon, I have the rights, I'm going to remove this thing. And the premise was, then you shouldn't tell the consumer you're buying this thing. You're kind of more like long-term borrowing or long-term renting, but clearly not a thing that is, I am purchasing this thing that they would have to break into my house to take it back, sort of, like you would with a DVD or Blu-ray.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the thing is even though you think you own these movies, they're actually in Apple's vault or they're in Disney's, vault. It's on their servers that they're delivering these things to, even though you have paid for the content, right? It's not like they've taken the movie away from me, which is going to be their argument, but the fact is they've taken away the format that I paid for.
You're going to have to reconsider the pluses of having a digital-only device. That's the burn, right?
What are you going to do on a Vision Pro, right?
That's it. I mean, between a Vision Pro,
even $5,000 Canadian for Vision Pro. You want to get me to rant? Here comes the rant. Okay, you're paying $5,000 for a Vision Pro. Of what? There's 800,000 of them on the marketplace. So I know it's a small market and stuff like that, right? And I specifically bought these movies when they were available to me in 3D, and now they're not. That is not fair.
Yeah.
Time to call the Better Business Bureau, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'll probably point to something in the very fine print of your agreement that says we have the right to do this to you whenever we feel like it.
Yeah.
Which is, again, this is exactly why we talk about physical media, right? Physical media is a pain in the butt, but at the same time, it's the one thing they can't take away from you.
Okay, carry on.
Was it called, Tim, MKV? Was that the format for streaming your own stuff?
Yeah,
but I don't. Again, does that work on in 3D formats for Vision Pro? I mean, because right, like I said, all the Marvel movies and a whole bunch of Disney movies are available to me in 3D, and I can download them to the device, right? And I don't know, maybe I can figure out a way to offload them or whatever. But I mean, like you're asking us to break the rules. Like, we bought these things in for fair use, right?
Yeah. If we were that kind of show, this is where we would play the Pirates of the Caribbean theme music, right? The dun 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 dun. But Tim, I don't know if there's an answer today because this is not my area of expertise. But I have to imagine you're not the only person flabbergasted by this. So I would not be shocked if there was an open source community out there that's pointing for this sort of thing.
I will point out that I do maintain a list of titles that are available in 3D on a GitHub page, and it's published on my blog, and it lists all the movies and the links to the Apple Store where you can download these movies, right? However, I know that some of the movies are not available to me in Canada already in 3D, but like these particular two titles, I know I watched them and I know I paid for them in 3D, and they're still on my list, but now they're no longer playable. And if I click on the link, I'm curious for those listening at home, if you click on the Mission Impossible link on my blog, and I'll put it in the show notes, it says content not available when you go to the Apple Store, even though I own the movie, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, the best Apple will do is give me my money back. That's not what I'm asking for.
Yeah, I honestly, I'd be more curious just to know why. Like, well, hey, you can keep my money if you tell me why.
Yeah, true. Maybe I'll send an email to Tim Cook.
Yeah.
Before he retires. Over to you, Jonathan, for your pick.
Well, I can't top that, but what I will say is that I spoke a few episodes back about how I'm doing a Stranger Things rewatch as I sort of try and time myself towards the end of November when we get the 5th and final season. I finally finished my season 2 rewatch this week and found it quite enjoyable. It's not quite as, I think, propulsive as the first season, especially just because everything's so new in the first season here. There's a lot more sort of, fleshing out the universe, and, they try and make up for some of the stuff that they probably wanted to do in season 1. Season 2 notoriously has the weird episode where 11 runs away and discovers her, one of her old childhood friends from where she was kept, and they had this weird punk adventure in Chicago, which many people consider to be the worst episode of the series. I can't say I disagree. But we also get the introduction of Max in this season, and she's kind of a breath of fresh air, and it sort of helps break through the sort of all boy kind of vibe that was going on a lot in the first season. But it's definitely it's been good to watch because there is a lot of stuff about the sort of the mythology of the Upside Down that is revealed here. We get a little bit more inside, and we see some new developments. And so I would say, as far as, trying to soak up a little extra info, if you're trying to sort of get yourself set up for the final season, yeah, there's definitely some good stuff in season 2. I'm looking forward to season 3. That's the season with the mall, and I remember enjoying that one, so I'm going to start the rewatch of that one next.
So is it out now? It's available as we speak?
Season 5, so all of Stranger Things 1, 2, 3, 4 is available on Netflix. Season 5 comes at the end of November. It's about 6 weeks from now. And they're breaking it up into 2 chunks. One chunk's coming out then, and the other chunk is coming out on Christmas Day. They have announced the run times for those, and pretty much every episode is about 2 hours. So it's basically a series of movies that is coming. And I believe the finale is a 3-hour movie. So there's going to be a lot of Stranger Things content to consume. I'm glad they broke it up at least a little bit by giving us 2 chunks and giving us a chance to consume it and digest it and discuss it before we get to the finale, but it's going to be a lot of content to sort of cram in and try and have that discussion before it all goes away again.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. Well, I guess that's it for another week. So, hey, Jonathan, people want to get in touch with you. Where would they find you?
Oh, I'd try looking on Blue Sky or Instagram. I'm at JPK News, or you can look at youtube.com/@JPK.
All right. And Jaime, if people want to get in touch with you?
I'm on Instagram. It's at Dev of the Hair.
All right. Well, my name is Timitra, TIMMITRA, and you can find me ranting on Blue Sky or on Mastodon, and I'm going to post something to LinkedIn right now. And otherwise, we'll see you in the future. Bye.
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 You've been listening to the Spotcast podcast. If you want to find out more about the podcast or see the episode show notes, visit the Spotcast website at spotcast.com. If you have feedback or questions, you can get in touch with us on the website. If you like the show, please consider recommending us to a friend, writing a review on iTunes, or pledging any amount at patreon.com/spotcast. You can find details on how to help us on our website, spotcast.com/sponsor us. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the future.
So it's 8-2 for the Blue Jays.
And yeah, we're going to the bottom of the ninth.
Oh, bottom of the ninth. Okay, cool.
There's got to be like an ancient artifact that belongs in a museum that we could be smashing to release a a genie or a demon or a fairy, just something to turn this ship around.
What you're feeling right in this very moment, Jaime, is exactly how I felt after the 2 creamings that the Blue Jays got on the weekend. So, yeah, hopefully, again, of all the teams that the Blue Jays could be facing, the one I am most empathetic for is the Mariners, because I know they've never made it to the World Series, and they had my all-time favorite baseball player for years and years. Ken Griffey Jr. Is my very favorite. And so I've always had a soft spot for the Mariners. That being said, I'd really like to see the Blue Jays go back to the World Series, but I'm just hoping that, like these first 4 games have all been like kind of unexpected, some interesting twists and turns, and I'd like to see the Blue Jays win, but it'd be also fun just to have a really dramatic, fun, exciting last few games and sort of go the distance and see how it goes. That being said, I do not want to see a Tom Cruise movie, so I'm really hoping the Blue Jays can pull this off.
Yeah, it's funny, like you were saying that before, like, and you mentioned Tomb Raider a couple of weeks ago, or last week, I can't remember, but Angelina Jolie is sort of my Tom Cruise. I'll watch her movies, but I just, there's something about her I just don't like, and I don't like, as much as I love Tomb Raider. You were talking about this when I think it was away, right? That I can't stand her as Lara Croft.
Well, and you're like an OG Lara Croft head, right? So.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned I actually just went through and played the first 6 games because they came out on a remastered version, and then I went back and played the last 2 titles all the way through. Like I did like a Red Dead Redemption thing and played all the levels and all the stuff that I missed the first couple of times I played them. Right. So yeah, and then I'm gonna get back and do the Last of Us Part 2 since you lent me the disc. But yeah, I mean, like the last 3 titles of Lara Croft have it's just like Red Dead or any of those other games where it's a multi-world and there are missions, side missions and stuff like that you can do, and collect all the things and all that stuff as well as the main story, right? So I'm very familiar with the Lara Croft character. I think who's the lady that does Captain America now? Not Captain America.
Oh, Captain Carter?
Captain Carter, yeah. What's her name? The actress who does the voice of the latest animated Lara Croft?
Yes.
And I like Alicia Vikander
my brain.
I like Alicia Vikander as Tomb Raider or as Lara Croft. She looks more. That's more what the character looks like.
Yeah.
I find it Angelina Jolie kind of boyish in her. I know she's got girl parts, but as Lara Croft goes, she's much more muscular and fit, right?
The internet says Haley Atwell is
Haley Atwell. Thank you.
It was in there somewhere.
It wasn't in my head. I didn't remember the name. I had to look it up.
Yeah. I was like, it's right there, but I can't quite grab it. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, I think we all have, different spots. I do know who Jaime does like, and that's what was her name? She's all the sci-fi movies in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
The redhead?
I mean, what's drawing a blank from all the movies in the 90s.
There was
redhead.
She was one of those she was one of those she was one of those actors from like Babylon 5 or one of those shows that you were just like, I will watch anything she does.
I'm drawing a blank on being in movies. However, I want to say Toronto's own Lexa Doig is a TV actress.
That's the one. Yeah. That's the one. Yes, Lexa Doig. That's right. Yeah, you'll have to get back to us with your significant others' suggestions on things that you despise. I'm honestly more curious than anything else now, just because again we've known each other for years now, and I'm like, what does Jaime hate? What does Jaime hate?
Are you sure he's not an AI though? Are you sure he's not an AI? You've never met him.
That's true. I mean,
I photoshopped a few photos of him for you.
Well, someday.
And conversely, Jaime, are you sure he's not an AI? And
it's hard to make an AI this curmudgeonly.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to ask my significant other. Like, one thing that comes to mind, and this is an old one, and she and I were talking about this while walking Poyo the other day, where there was this movie that came out in 2010, and I'll say the movie's name in a bit, but the sort of meta was, as a couple, there were often like movies we would watch together, and then there was a my choice movie, and then there was a her choice movie, right? And I don't remember exactly which movie I got in exchange. That she never cashed in her movie. So I brought this up. I was like, hey, I could go look on justwatch.com and see where this movie is. I want to say we watched like Jurassic World or something. It's something around that era. But the movie that I just looked up here is Temple Grandin with Claire Danes. Was a movie she wanted to watch. I said, I don't want to watch that. That has to be one of your choices. You got to burn a choice. Just like I'm burning one for Jurassic World. So that might be, don't be shocked if that's her suggestion. Like, oh, you got to watch Temple Grandin. The one I didn't want to give in on. Let me see if it's available somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, we all have things that are not our cup of tea. I think we could just put a twist on yours. It'd be like you have to write a fan letter to Jerry Jones or something. Just something that really irks you. Something that's written under your skin.
In the U.S., Temple Grandin is not available for free. Maybe I have Amazon credits. It's a low $3.79 in Amazon Video.
There you go. Yeah, well, you have a catalog of, I'm guessing probably at this point, like 80 movies to choose from, because Tom Cruise has been around for 40 years as a movie actor. So lots of choices and lots of stuff that I haven't seen, because I think the last Tom Cruise movie I saw was Minority Report, which I believe was about 23 years ago. So
yeah, it's a Spielberg one too.
Yeah, I've been curious. I must admit, I've been tempted to watch Edge of Tomorrow because I do like the other people in it, and I do like the concept, but I just cannot watch him and get over it. He takes me immediately. As soon as I see him, I'm like,
the thing about that movie is, by the way, I have it on Vision Pro in 3D, but for now, he gets his comeuppance. You really enjoy it. I mean, it is a Tom Cruise vehicle. Emily Blunt is the star of the show, but but he does get his comeuppance. You'll enjoy that part of it.
I must admit, I kind of want to, there's some Tom Cruise movies from the past 20 years that I have not seen that I think would be great on the unintentional comedy scale. Like, he played Jack Reacher in 2 movies. Like Jack Reacher, for anyone who's ever read the books, Jack Reacher is described like he's a Marine. He's supposed to be huge. He's supposed to be tough. And I'm like, who cast this little 5'6" nothing as Jack Reacher? Like what? I'm curious about that. I've seen the incarnation that's currently on Amazon, and I'm like, that's Jack Reacher. That guy is Jack Reacher. But yeah, there's so much terrible Tom Cruise out there for me to delve into. I'm kind of terrified as to what you might come up with.
Kind of curious what the fans say, and not to lead them a particular way, but I said, you know what? I bet I can AI this. So I literally put into Google Gemini. I have a friend that does not like Tom Cruise. I wanted to really annoy him. What is the worst Tom Cruise movie I could make him watch? And it gives some pretty interesting choices. Mission Impossible 2 from 2000 says often cited as the weakest Mission Impossible.
Yeah, that's the one with the motorcycles.
I think I actually did see that. I think Tim and I watched that back when. I think that might have been like the second last Tom Cruise movie I saw.
Wasn't he in some fantasy movie at one point too? Like
he was in Legend. I saw that one back in the day.
It also mentions other strong contenders like The Mummy 2017. As I haven't seen that. Attempt to start a new cinematic universe. That's kind of interesting. Rock of Ages from 2012.
That's probably the one. That's probably the one.
And then it also
Magnolia. No, Magnolia is the one he wants to watch.
See, there's so much arguments here. It's so interesting. And then it also recommends Cocktail 1988 as the
I have seen Cocktail back in the day. It is pretty terrible.
Lowest Rotten Tomatoes score.
Human.
Cheesy 80s excess. And I'm like, it's got a pretty decent running time, and it's like 80s running time of like, oh boy, it's going to be like 45 minutes before they even get to the plot.
Yeah. Blue Jays win.
Yay.
There you go.
All tied up at 4. Game 5 tomorrow.
Yeah, by the way, just I know at the beginning of the show I kind of talked a bit about the going to the game, but I mean I gotta say, I mean it was a once in a lifetime set of seats to see the game from that perspective, right? So first of all, to be at a playoff game, like, you know,
there's nothing like playoff sports.
Yeah, and
it's so much better,
and to be that close. But it's funny. I was joking with a friend of mine and said it's a bit like church, because anytime anything exciting happens, everybody stands up.
Oh yeah.
Tension or a score or whatever, you know.
But it sounded, I mean, obviously it was a disappointing result for the home fans, but it was sounding pretty electric in there, like a lot of energy.
Yeah, but it was interesting. Like I don't know. Remember one time you and I went and we got to see the third period from the glass. I think it was the the Penguins, right?
Sharks Leafs. That was my birthday.
Oh, Sharks Leafs. Yeah.
Sharks Leafs. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was almost too close, right? If you remember, but remember how big those guys were that close up, right? You know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a unique perspective. A friend of mine used to have season tickets for the Blue Jays, and they were like fifth row over by first base in the old configuration of the Rogers Center, which is they've changed it over the past few years. But that was the first game I ever took Xavier to. My friend gave me tickets and sat in that spot. Do you have any idea
what do season tickets cost? Like for like the 100 bowl or the 200 bowl or?
I mean, it's essentially it's a basic mathematic formula. It's 81 games times whatever the value of the tickets are, and then some of them will have discounts applied from there depending on where you are. But when you're down in those ones, you're not really getting much of a discount. So you know they can cost as little if you're sitting in sort of the upper portions. They can cost as little as couple $1,000. If you're sitting down in those seats, it's probably closer to $20,000.
Yeah, most of the Blue Jay games. I saw one game from, I think the Hockey News gave me tickets once, and they were like on the third baseline, but they were like, you know, in the 100s, right? Mm-hmm. That was probably like 15 years ago, I guess. But I've only ever really seen the Blue Jays from the 500 level, which is like, you know, like if you look at the stadium high, it's like the very, very top. And actually most concerts I've gone to have been up there as well. I can't remember where were we sitting for Foo Fighters? 200?
I think we're the 200s. Okay. Yeah, I think we're the 200. We're in the 500s. We're in the 200s for that.
Yeah.
So they weren't bad. They were you know, good look at the stage, but far.
Yeah.
It is a bit of a. I mean, this stadium, for those that don't remember, it's built in 1989. It was opened in 1989. It's been pretty pretty majorly renovated over the past 3 or 4 years, and it's a much nicer place to see a ball game. I saw 2 ball games there last year. I took my nephew to see a game, and I went with some friends to see a second one, and it's a nice place to watch a ball game. It's nicer than it's ever been. That being said, I've probably been to like 13 or 14 different ballparks around Major League Baseball over my adult life, and almost all of those are better. I mean,
yeah, really? Okay. Because they're
Yankee Stadium, Fenway Park. I've been to San Diego. I've been to Cincinnati, both in Chicago, Milwaukee, Cleveland, Detroit. Both of the stadiums in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is by far the most beautiful stadium in baseball. It's so beautiful. The way they built it, they built it basically opposite of downtown, across a river. So you basically, when you're coming from downtown, you're walking towards the ballpark, and it's like you're walking over this bridge, and you're all walking together. And then when you're sitting if you're sitting behind, like pretty much anywhere not in the outfield, the entire downtown of the city and the valley is like right in front of you. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful ballpark.
Yeah, Tim, you might be ruined for seeing it like a normal person. I understand this feeling because last year I was invited to a people in the Seattle area technology mixer thing, and it was in one of the club suites at T-Mobile Park, and the entire experience was just amazing. You go in through a special entrance from the parking garage, which avoids all of the lines. The ability to just walk around from suite to suite and not have anybody question, like, sir, where's your tickets? They see that you've got your particular tickets. The, just great extravaganza of food that was, I looked it up. It was incredibly pricey, but not my problem. It was the nice people at Vercel that paid for everybody to go to this thing. And also having a pro shop area that was just for you on that tier. And I haven't even gotten to the part of like, oh, look, you could actually go look out the window and look at a baseball game too, right? Like, just everything around it was amazing. And from the parking garage, the premium spot on the lowest levels of the parking garage, that they actually double checked my ticket twice. In the entrance, like, okay, go this way. And another guy stopped me later and is like, let me make sure you don't have you've got the ticket on your mobile device. Okay, go ahead. It's normally, leaving T-Mobile Park, if you're parking in that parking garage anywhere, it's like, oh man, it's going to be like half an hour to 45 minutes trying to get to the freeway because, the traffic police have to try to deal with a sea of partially drunk or possibly still drunk fans hooting and hollering, not really paying attention. Not for this one, sir, because they have kept everybody away from that. And I just made an immediate right. And within 30 seconds, I was on the highway. My significant other was like, how did you get home so fast? I was like, let me tell you about this amazing experience. I'm sure it cost a big ton of money. I can never do this again. I can't be a filthy animal on the upper deck in the cheap seats. And that's what I think is going to have to do, Tim.
Sorry, honey, we're going to have to make some cutbacks. This is the way I'm seeing baseball from now on.
Yeah, Tim, I don't know how you're going to go back to the El Cheapo seats over there.
Oh, yeah, it won't be hard. I mean, it was such an out-of-body experience. Like I said, from the going in and you get a wristband on, and the buffet was just amazing. The food was amazing. Yeah, and it's funny because the game I went to, the fan games tickets I won for the Leafs, they even had like pizza and hot dogs, but it was like your run-of-the-mill pizza, pepperoni pizza, your run-of-the-mill steamed hot dog, and they had like pretzels and stuff like that, but it was free, which is nice. And there was soft drinks for free and whatever. Then you go to this game and it's like, they go to the Blue Jays game and it's like, prime rib sliced on sliced as you're standing there, and tons of sushi and, like lamb in a pita and, just, you name it. Like, it wasn't just hot dogs.
Where was this friend when I was living in Toronto? What the hell?
Yeah, I know. Well, you notice I didn't tell you until I was actually at the stadium, because I was like, how am I going to tell Jonathan? Like, is he going to jump on a plane and come to this game? Like, it would have been worth it. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I'll be there next week if somebody wants to give you World Series tickets. That's fine. That's fine. I'll take one for the team.
I'll keep that in mind. If when are you coming? Like, you're not going to be here for games 6 and 7.
No, we'll be there probably Friday night next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like a week from now? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, a week from tomorrow. We're leaving first thing Friday morning. Should be there Friday night. Yep. That's gonna be a whirlwind because we're basically gonna get there Friday night and have to leave by Monday morning. So,
Coolio.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look at those poor Seattle. I'm watching the replays, but those poor Seattle fans. Mind you, Jaime did say that Seattle is just like Toronto in terms of like snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, right?
Like, you all don't understand, right? So.
Oh, we do.
Back in 22.
Yeah.
Back in 22.
I'll see you and raise you 57 years of ineptitude.
It's a unique style, right? It's like, if you tell people, hey, it was an 18-inning game against the Astros, and we lose 1-0, it's just nuts, right? If you tell people, all sorts of wild things of like, no, that couldn't, yes, which is why it was so cathartic. And I feel like some of the energy has fallen off for the team. Like, when it went 15 innings against the Tigers, I could just feel the pit of like, oh God, we're going to lose it here, aren't we? It's like just this one mistake. Cal Raleigh hasn't allowed a pass ball as catcher the entire season. And this one passed ball is the doom. And I feel like they really lived off that high, and they just like, punched Toronto in the mouth for those 2 games. And then Toronto realized, wait a minute, we beat the hell out of the Yankees. Who are these guys? Right? And I couldn't believe it. It was so interesting to see, for these various games, nobody was more hurt about the Mariners' first couple of victories against the Toronto Blue Jays than New York Yankees fans. They were so livid. I'm like, what? We beat the Mariners this season 5-1, and therefore by by association we should have been able to defeat the Blue Jays real handily. It's like it doesn't work that way. It's why they play the games. It's crazy. So if you paid attention to, yes. That's where I was going with it.
The Dodgers just took care of the Brewers in Game 3. They're up 3 games to none now. And I just keep looking at that thinking, does it really matter who wins the Seattle versus Toronto series? Because I have a feeling that $560 million salary team, which is triple the Mariners' salary and double the Blue Jays' salary, I can't imagine that there's a lot of hope for either of those teams when they face that juggernaut.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I've seen this story before with a Seattle team. And hear me out, I'm going somewhere with this. So whoever plays the Dodgers in the World Series, whether it's Toronto or Seattle, you will not even know that either of those teams is in the World Series. All the media will be about Shohei Ohtani, about the Dodgers. It's been forever since a champion has gone back to the World Series, much less won it. And oh yeah, by the way, here's this other team. Moving on, right? Like, it's going to feel like that no matter what. Just accept this in your heart. And the closest thing I could think of is back in, I want to say it was 2005, 2006. I was relatively new to the Seattle area. I moved here in 2024. And I remember I was like joining local folks. I'm like, hey, pretty excited to see the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl. We were the only city in the nation that knew we were in the Super Bowl. The entire news cycle was about the Pittsburgh Steelers and Jerome Bettis and blah, blah, blah. So I understand how this feeling works, regardless of which of our 2 teams is victorious. It will not matter unless we actually win the dang series. So win the dang series, is the answer here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird one because we got kind of spoiled as Blue Jay fans because they came around in 77 just like the Mariners, and by 85 they won their first AL East. They were really in it in 87, and then they collapsed. 89 they made it back. They won the East again. And then they won the back-to-back World Series. So we kind of felt like we'd gotten over this hump. And then when they made it back to the American League Championship Series about 10 years ago, and they played Kansas City, who famously beat us in '85 as well, we were just felt like, oh yeah, we like make this series, and then we go to the World Series. And when they beat us in the ALCS, I was like, hey, that's not very nice. Like, I had never experienced losing at that level as a Blue Jays fan. It was just like, oh man, this sucks. And then it's just been struggle bus for the past decade or so. So it's fun to have them back and be competitive again. But you're right. I think it doesn't matter. I mean, Canada will be behind the Blue Jays all the way. If they lose, I think, they always do the fun social media memes where they're like, who is everybody in America rooting for in this sporting event? And it's like, the one state that's rooting for this, or the one small region that's rooting for like the favorite, and everybody else is rooting for the underdog. I think whoever comes out of this series is going to be the underdog, and they're going to be the ones that everyone roots for because the other team is just this monstrosity.
Yeah,
it would be pretty funny though. I was thinking if the Blue Jays managed to pull this off for some reason, and again I don't have high hopes, but if they happened to beat the Yankees and then the Mariners and then the Dodgers, they would have beaten basically the best three hitters in baseball in 3 consecutive series, which is pretty impressive if you could pull it off. I don't think they're gonna, but to beat Aaron Judge and then Cal Raleigh and then Shohei Ohtani would be quite a feat.
Yeah.
Because that's a murderer's row. That's the 3 best players in baseball.
Timing wise is interesting here. So I was a big fan of playing the Super Nintendo, and Ken Griffey Jr. Presents Major League Baseball. It's a game that came out in '94. Oh, yeah. Ken Griffey Jr. is the only licensed player. He's the only real player you can play in the game, including his teammates, and the Mariners are fake. And the Toronto Blue Jays were super good. And as a wee lad, I didn't understand, like, why is this team so good? It's like, well, because they won the World Series, like, right before the game was made. So that's some of the history there.
I still have a great fondness for. I have I was a Sega guy and still am. I still have Sports Talk Baseball, which was the first baseball game to come out for the Sega Genesis. They had the players' union rights, so the players are right. But the teams are all just named after the cities, and they don't have the official logos or anything. But in that one, you've essentially got the 1992 Blue Jays hitting lineup and pitching lineup. You have to make a couple of trades if you want to get some of the late season additions, but you essentially have the World Series winning team. And then they put out something called World Series Baseball, which is the first one that has the actual teams and the actual players and everything else. And in that one, you can play as the 93 Blue Jays hitting lineup, which was like Ricky Henderson, John Olerud, Paul Molitor, Roberto Alomar, Joe Carter. So it's just this murderer's row of hitters. And then you get this like starting lineup with like all these guys, a bunch of these guys who went on to be like, the best players of the decade. And you're just like, I love this. This is so much fun because like that team can't lose. It's always fun when those games actually reflect it. I played so many years of playing like video game hockey where it's like, and the Leafs are terrible. You had to make like 3 trades just to be able to win a game.
It's been a while for us, both. As I think, like, I'm sure your local media is like this. When our local media, evening news is like talking to fans, they'll get a parent and a child, and to the child, these wee kiddos whose birth years start with a 20, for them it's like, oh, the Mariners, they've basically been good lately, so they're good, right? And the adults are like, no, for those of us born in the 1900s, we understand the decades of pain.
Yeah,
we understand.
Well, and especially if it's the all-timer is that season, they won 113 games. That team was amazing. That early 2000s, was it late 90s, early 2000s? Seattle team that won 113 games in the regular season. It's an all-time record.
Yeah, the 2001.
And everybody was sure they were going to win it all, and then they crashed out in the ALCS to the stinking Yankees.
Take advantage while you can, folks. If your beloved Toronto Blue Jays should be victorious. Tim, this is super easy. You just walk out your front door. You can join the parade. Jonathan, you're gonna have to make a bit of a commute, make a little bit of a travel. I think it's worth it because you never know if it'll be next year as well, or in your next lifetime, kind of thing.
Well, that's why I made a point when the Raptors won the NBA championship in 2019. But one, I'm already a Raptors fan. I'm already a big NBA fan, but I had to be there. So Xavier and I went to the parade and took pictures and cheered and had a great time.
For the Raptors parade?
Yeah,
I was there too.
The Raptors parade, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like, again, how, you could tell when you were there at that event, people were like, oh my God, we won something.
Yes, yeah, pretty much.
Like our Canadian Football League team has won championships, and it's like, yeah, they have a parade, but you're one of 8 teams and you win. That's fine. But when you win something real like an NBA or MLB or NHL championship, it hits different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to consider that. I hadn't planned on coming back to Toronto again for a while after our next visit, so I'll have to decide if it's worth the trip. I was thinking about the irony of years and years and years of not being able to see them do this, and then have them do that when I'm not around anymore. I was like, well, maybe I was the problem.
Yeah, maybe you were. Yeah,
that's a great deep cut right there.
Yeah. Yep. All right, I gotta go let my dogs out. And
is that your dog? I wasn't sure whose dog that was making the noise.
No, I closed the door and Melvin was sleeping. He's fine, and now he's staring at me. I have a glass door in my office, and he's staring at me through the window, going, "Why aren't you letting me in?"
Yeah. All right,
guys.
See you next week, guys. Good luck, Jaime. All the best.
Likewise.
All right.
Go Jays, go.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.